Hello ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? It is your boy, iz33, welcoming you back to the LCS Anarchy Analysis matchup of the week between Flyquest and Team Solo Mid. Now this is not going to be just a straight up teamfight breakdown, we are instead going to be doing a full game cast, first one of these in a long time, and what two better teams to cover. This was the Summer Split Grand Finals last season, and obviously these two teams have made major changes since them rosters, of which the biggest major change I would honestly say is PoE is on the other side of the rift in this game, as he went from Flyquest mid lane over to the TSM mid lane, and as such you're going to see a lot of contest and him wanting to beat his former team, and obviously his former team want to beat him. Now, at the standings currently in the LCS are TSM are sitting atop of the table. Although they did lose yesterday, they're going to probably bounce back here against Flyquest, who are sitting pretty near the bottom of the table, let's be honest. As we prepare for Champion Select for this game, obviously you can see the players are in a lot of high spirits, I would say. And obviously, back on the LCS stage does kind of allow you to see the players' emotions going into the draft. It's always a good sign when you have players in a studio, especially after the COVID era. Now, obviously, if you look at these two teams, how do you expect them to play? Well, TSM realistically have been playing quite heavily through their bot lane. Sword Art and Lost have been standout performers during this split, whereas you look at the likes of their mid lane, you used to criticize PoE for only playing control mages last split on TSM, and as such, it's kind of a breath of fresh air when you see him on picks like his Lucian, which granted is 0 and 2, and also his Vigo, which we've seen. Now, as we're into Champion Select and the bans have already come through, we see Renekton and Karma and Varus removed by Flyquest, TSM will remove the Senna and the Gwen, possibly a ban towards maybe Cog, could see come out as a ban, obviously one of the prio ADCs, Vigo may even come through as a ban, Rumble also. Very big bans. Udyr though, I would expect to be banned here, or the two teams trade off the junglers. One team gets one. Instead, it's going to be the Akali ban. That's actually kind of big. Obviously, TSM did just lose to Aberdage's Akali yesterday, and that was a big loss considering he went deathless on that champion. But first pick coming through for Flyquest is Lulu. And this is very good. Obviously you see Cog Lulu as a very strong bot lane. Cog receiving a lot of buffs recently. Buffs to his Q, I remember, and his W getting a bit more attack speed. That's always good. But TSM's response, you probably expect them to go for this Nocturne. Yes indeed we do. That obviously can be flexed between 3 roles. It's always good. And it kind of makes it hard for Flyquest to kind of counter to it. Though we could in theory see a Vigo come in to go into it, but TSM also going to lock in the Rumble, so that's kind of going to telegraph where the Nocturne is going, and it's probably going into Hui's hands. Flyquest hovering the fiddle, it shouldn't come through, though it has raised in priority during solo queue as one of these big counters to the Rumble in the jungle. However, Udyr is left open, and Udyr, the man-bear thing in the jungle, is going to be picked up for Jose Diodo. And obviously, working with Lulu, the extra move speed that she can provide him is going to be good, and Cog should realistically come in here, obviously, because the Lulu was locked in already. You kind of have telegraphed your bot lane, unless you took Lulu into the solo lanes, but that's obviously if you wanted to go for that. TSM probably are going to lock in their ADC here. Realistically, they don't want to go through 4 bans, and obviously, realistically, only have like 2 big picks. Obviously, Xayah would be open, But you look at the ones that have already come through, Senna, Varus, and yeah, there goes a Tristana. That still technically is a flex. So TSM are going to keep some semblance of mystery to their draft right now, though it is probably going to go to the bot lane because mid-Trist isn't as powerful. Now, obviously, mid laners still have picks to go through, as well as top laner for Flyquest is going to be picked up. So you'd expect TSM to ban out top laners. Flyquest probably to support Leona's. The Karma already banned out, but I'd expect Leona, Nautilus, Rel being one of Sword Art's big major picks. I'd expect that to be banned out. And it's not. They're going to be banning out control mages as well. So Orianna going to be taken off the board here. Set was removed by TSM. Probably expect maybe a Gragasman from TSM. Something that can disrupt the Tristana from coming in. That's always a good thing. So removing Nan off the board would be good. Else I expect Flyquest to pick that up. But instead it's actually Lee Sin. That makes a bit more sense as well. Obviously you can kick the Nocturne away after his shield, as well as kick the Rumble out of your team as his Flame Spitter burns you down. Now, first pick coming in here for TSM in the second phase. Probably they're going to pick up that mid laner here. I would honestly maybe like a Lucian or some AD pick. Vigo is left open. Possibly you have that so that it works well with the Rumble. But there is still AP picks you could go towards, though it isn't my preferred option here. Instead, they're just going to lock into Leona. They're going to secure the counter pick for PoE and see what Palafox wants to go for here. And he could, in fact, go for the Vigo. Zoe has seen a bit of play recently in Pro. And also, the Syndra could also come through. But Palafox does like these aggressive picks, and Vigo would work very well for him, especially with the Udyr CC. That would be a very hard team to kill here. The Flyquest are drafted in the late game. TSM, what are they wanting to go into the Vigo? Probably is going to be a control mage, if not Lucian. And Lucian hasn't been a big pick for PoE because it has done not too good recently here in the Summer Split. That being said, Flyquest pick up the Silas, and you look at the ults on TSM side. Nocturne Paranoia, the Equalizer, Triss Buster Shots, and the Solar Flare. That's 4 big teamfighting ults that are very, very strong. So I like this pickup of the Silas into top lane into the Nocturne. Or it could be Silas mid and Vigo top. They've still technically can flex that here, Flyquest. Meanwhile, TSM locking the Lucian in. Obviously, I've spouted my beliefs and thoughts on this pick for TSM. Not the best. But the two comps, you look at them, very, very nicely done. Kog'Maw and Lulu want to stay a bit further back, whereas the rest of the Flyquest squad want to dive in and you isolate a target to get the resets off of Vigo and kill you off. Meanwhile, TSM have a lot of dive and a lot of backline access with the Nocturne, with the Leona. They realistically want to be jumping onto the Lulu and the Kog'Maw with that draft, with Rumble and Lucian and Triss firing in the damage into the front line of Flyquest so that they gain access into that backline, whereas Nock and Leona get back and try to burst them out. But that being said, Lulu kind of does counter out this Nocturne and Leona, because she just wild growths up whoever gets hit by the engage from TSM, and realistically, they survive the dive and the rest of Flyquest kill. Fairly standard draft from TSM in the current meta, but Flyquest have drafted around what TSM have wanted to go for, and kind of countered it, I would say, honestly, very nicely. But as you can see, the champions have been locked for this game by both teams, and we are getting ready to jump on to the Rift for this game here in the LCS. And as the Summer's Rift loads in, two teams are preparing for this big battle, and this is my usual part of the game where we check out the Summoner spells, and TSM have gone with the Conqueror Rumble instead of the Burst Heavy Dark Harvest, so he wants to sustain through probably and may go for the Riftmaker build. Obviously, on patch 11.11 has received some buffs, more sustainability to that item, and realistically it's a very good pick. Rest of the team, what have they gone for? Yeah, fairly standard. It is going to be the Phase Rush Udia. That's kind of standard. It's not going to be that Predator, so he's going to be looking to obviously get some basically damage down and run around you. He wants to get into the backline quite quickly there, that Udia. But as we see, Udia picks up a ward kill early on using the sweeper that Lulu had picked up, or is a good sign. That being said, TSM have managed to secure themselves a ward onto the red buff here of Flyquest, so they're going to be able to track where Jose Diodo goes. Meanwhile, Speaker's jungle start is going to be unknown to Flyquest, though you would expect a Rumble to realistically start on the blue because it provides him a bit more sustain, considering he starts with the scrap shield and tries to build up overheat quickly. Now, two teams here realistically on different aspects of the standings in the LCS, I would say. Flyquest are 8 and 14. TSM have actually got 7 more wins in them. That's huge. And if you're Flyquest, you need every win you can get. So if you can beat this squad, you get closer and closer to getting into top 6 for playoffs, where you're not in a lower bracket. That's something that Flyquest are fighting for. Meanwhile, TSM are fighting for a top 2 spot, which would get them a bye, I do believe, in the actual setup for playoffs. That would be always good. But yeah, this is going to be a very big matchup for Flyquest because, let's be honest, every game matters. Now, at the bottom side of the map, we can see a massive wave crashing into the TSM turret. And that's obviously huge because you have to say the Cog and Lulu have worked very well to basically build that up and then force it into that TSM turret early. It means, though, TSM do manage to do something on the map to actually get that. But that being said, Speaker, looking to look for a potential dive onto Licorice. Huni and Speaker are showing. Jose Diodo's coming up, and here comes TP coming in from Flyquest, but it will not matter as the first ball goes over to Speaker, and he's forced to flush away, but that's going to be a trade, and that's going to be 2 kills over to Flyquest. As the TP play coming in from Palafox secures them some gold back, and TP coming in from Licorice is going to basically signal a lane swap here. Meanwhile, bot side, TSM just being forced away. The aggression is allowed to happen because Speaker was topside and died. So there's no presence for TSM on the bot side map, meaning that they can go in for the play. That being said, looking here at this fight again, Vigo goes in a bit too early in my opinion. He gets feared up and that forces him to die. And looking at the rest of the fight, it's just very simple for a Silas and a Nudia to combine their CC chains and pick up the double kill. Now, that's kind of an interesting thing because Palafox got a kill and assist, but PoE, he was farming as that happened. He didn't TP up there, and realistically, where would he have TP'd to? The minions that TSM had, which were nowhere near the fight, so it's very smart of him to stay in lane and get a 10 CS advantage. That being said, bot side, it's getting out of hands for Lost and Sword Art, as mid lane sees some heavy trading. But going back to the point of bot lane being out of hand, CS now is 11 in favor of this Kog'Maw. And that's important to note, because the Kog'Maw has had constant push in this lane, and Speaker hasn't travelled down there. But that being said, Huni may be caught out here. The Blast Cone's going to launch him over the wall into the loving arms of the Silas, and he's being taken out. Vigo's going to land a stun, and that is a kill over to Jose Diodo. However, Speaker looking to get the kill, going to put Flame Spitter down, forcing the flash out of Licorice. Yikes. And Speaker continuing the dive. TP is coming in from Huni. They could realistically look for the dive here, but EOE, you're walking into a death trap. Never mind. It is Sword Art who's going to be caught as the Solar Flare gets hijacked. And Palafox gets another kill. Meanwhile, topside Flame Spitter is going to pick off Licorice. And TSM go 1-for-1 in that play. But realistically, Sword Art, man, walking into the fog of war, and that's giving over easy goal to the Silas, who obviously excels in the late game and early game. He usually lacks the power, especially into Lucian, who can just cyberbully him across the mid lane, but he hasn't got that ability now. The Silas has got 2 kills, already got his boots picked up, and a Kindle gem. Is just a lot of safety in Silas's back pocket right now, in comparison to what the Lucian has got. And we can look at the XP and levels. It's very interesting. Palafox, who's not spent that much time in lane, is the highest in XP. Granted, PoE is just slightly below him, but you look at the rest of the map, and in fact, we'll look back at this play. So the Soul Flare gets hijacked, polymorphed Sword Art, and he goes boop. And topside, it's just going to be Nocturne putting chains down. Doesn't get the fear off, but he's still able to spell shield the W coming out of Licorice, and it's just very easy for the Flame Spitter to pick up the kill, and who need to tank the turret. So, state in the map right now, there is a 700 gold lead in favor of Flyquest right now. That's fairly obviously gonna happen. They picked up the Drake. They've got a couple of kills in their back pocket over TSM. However, TSM could look to contest this Herald. They have seen it being started by Jose Diodo, and in fact, Huni might just leash it. And he's going to say thanks for the leash, Jose Diodo, keeping it at just above half HP. But Jose Diodo, he may look to contest this. In fact, we could see a fight, as all of Flyquest are up here. Meanwhile, Sword Art is going to jump in straight onto Udia, and he's even tunked out. And that's the Paranoia stolen. And that's a kill over to Flyquest. And it's going to be a double, as Huni just goes a bit too far. And that's 2-0 to Flyquest, though the Herald goes over. And honestly, what was Sword Art and Huni doing there? They realistically did not need to go in. And in fact, that's going to translate into pressure topside for Flyquest, because Cog and Lulu roamed up to that Herald play, and they're going to get turret plates here off of this due to Triss not being able to contest the bot laners of Flyquest. However, we could possibly see a 3v3 here in the top lane. Leona is going to ramp around, going to clear this control ward, but this is a bait set up perfectly by Flyquest, as the Zenith Blade's going to miss, and TP is going to come in from Flyquest, but this does not matter, as Kog'Maw's firing in the shots from range, and the kill goes over to Johnson. And you realistically have to think about Leona here in this game, of how much she's giving over gold. She's died 3 times already. So is Huni. They're basically feeding Flyquest here, and that is not good. You look, mid and jungle, 3 kills to their names. You can basically thank the support and top laner of TSM here for why that has happened. And if you're Huni, you're kind of getting walled out the game. As we watch this again, Xenos Blade missed, but it's just very easy for the Cog Lulu combination, firing in them extra shots, tickling the damage down onto the Leona. Lucky dodge there though, by Sword Art, to not give over an assist to Palafox, but it's still okay. The team still managed to pick up a kill, let's be honest. And with Drake coming up in 45 seconds, you expect Flyquest to pick up the second one of their game. Though TSM does have the vision set up for it. Now, items, looking at this point in the game, obviously Speaker does have the Rift Herald in his back pocket, so we could see TSM go for a play, but there is the catch out as Dreams goes night-night, as he becomes a nightmare, and that does mean the Herald's going to be dropped topside for loss to get some extra gold into his back pocket. And the kill did go over to Speaker. He has got himself a bounty, though realistically it's not the best considering you would have preferred the kill to go over to Lost. And Flyquest in consolation are going to pick up the second Drake of the game. Though TSM could realistically get a bit more pressure on this top lane tier 2. The Herald's definitely going to crash in. That's a lot of damage down. Will the explosive shot take it out? No, it won't. And Mountain Drake goes over to Udyr, and we're going to see what sort of rift we've got. It's an ocean rift. So that's huge if you're Flyquest. Ocean Soul on a Udyr, a Silas, both big sustain champions who are going to be frontlining, soaking up a lot of damage that TSM want to pump out. Yes, you could say Vigo is the same. But you look at that, it's such a huge buff for Flyquest. And TSM, in my opinion, are going to need to contest the next Drakes that spawn. They need to contest the next 4 Drakes and get Soul themselves if they want to win this game. Let's be honest, if Flyquest get Soul, that's night-night. Meanwhile, bot side, Huni is going to use the Paranoia, going to land the chains onto the Vigo, but obviously the ulti out of Vigo means he goes unstoppable and survives the fear. He isn't going to be locked up by TSM, and as such, he's able to get out with his life. And that is a worthwhile trade. 2 ults for the price of 1. Though it is his flash also burnt, as turret plating is falling in the next 30 seconds. Possibly could see 1 turret plate fall here as this is happening. Never mind the Vigo stay bot lane. So we're not going to see any more turret plating fall, and realistically that's a huge gold lead that Flyquest have picked up without realistically picking up too many turret plates. There's still 3 on the top lane, 4 on the mid, 4 on the bot lane. Meanwhile, TSM obviously took a full turret. That's always huge. But Jose Dioda's going to run straight at Lost. Going to be hit by 2 shots and the explosive charge. And he's just immediately run out of there. So, what do TSM need to do to kind of get themselves back into this game? Well, realistically, I would say you can't sit back and farm. You need to contest these objectives on the map. I'd say Drake's a more priority. Maybe look for a couple picks here and there. Obviously, you've managed to pick up 2 onto Licorice already, but they may actually be looking for him right now. Possibly a dive going to come through as Licorice walking away from turret. That's going to be Paranoia used immediately, and he's forced to use his ult already, and there's a Soul Flare just landing him, stunning him in place, and that's kill over to Sword Art. You would have preferred it on maybe the Nocturne or the Rumble, but you still get a kill. That's gold back into TSM's pockets, and possibly more contesting on the bot side map. Get some vision down, ready for the Drake. Meanwhile, Flyquest, drop the Herald mid. Gonna get the mid lane tier 1. That's always helpful in opening up the rest of the map, because you now get access into the jungle of TSM without that Warden, the Guardian in the mid lane turret, protecting you from being jumped on from behind. No safety mid means there's no real safety in your jungle. And as such, TSM realistically are possibly going to get this Drake. You look at the wards set up right now, they've got 2 in the brushes as you enter into the jungle of Flyquest. 1 in the big long ocean brush. They've got 1 on where the blast cone normally is, and they've got all the entrances basically covered. That's huge for TSM, because it means that Flyquest have to go over vision if they want to contest this Drake. So TSM will know where Flyquest are coming if they can go for a fight here. But Nocturne putting a lot of pressure down onto Vigo, taking him down to half HP. But obviously, Licorice has the Bork in his back pocket, meaning that he is gonna just heal up and pick up all of its health. But Sword Art, that's a Turbo Chemtac Udia running at you. Luckily avoids the man-bear flash slap combo. And that technically should mean Drake goes over to TSM. As Speaker is going to just immediately chunk it out. Licorice is coming in with a TP. We could see a fight as the Equalizer gets chunked down. That's a flash already immediately burnt out of Udia, who gets Wild Growth to keep him alive. But the Drake goes over to TSM. And what can come from this fight is Vigo and Nocturne trading, but both teams disengaging. So good play there by TSM. Managed to stop the Drake stacking that Flyquest wanted to go for. But realistically, that's not done too much for the game state, other than you slowing down Flyquest's win condition. And yes, you can say, well, you're getting closer to yours. But Flyquest, I feel, have the stronger late game. Silas scales extremely well into the late. Cogmore, he used to be known as a hyper carry when that term was mainly used. Pair him up with a Lulu, this guy just pumps out damage late game. And realistically, TSM need to get him locked up if they want to kill him. But as you can see, TSM secure themselves the scuttle thanks for the leash, Palafox. Though it does mean that the Equalizer goes over to Silas. He can just boop, drop that down onto you and you die. But TSM looking to contest Palafox out of his jungle, and there's the Equalizer drop down onto Speaker and Sword Art. As TSM just going to walk away. Silas closing the distance. There's the Equalizer returning out from TSM. They're going in as a 4v4. Here comes the Paranoia coming in as Uni dives straight onto the Congo, but he's on his own and he gets bursted by Palafox as he gets himself a rampage with his kills. And Huni, my boy, why are you going in without your team? Let's be honest. He didn't need to go in that far, because the rest of his team disengaged very nicely. But realistically, maybe some split calls coming out of TSM in that fight. Sword Art obviously went in, and with Speaker, they have forced to back out though once the Equalizers dropped on their heads. Hosted Diodo and Silas looking to chase him, but top side, Palafox, he's been caught out. Lost is jumping on top of him, and that's a TP burnt as well by TSM. maybe a bit of an overcommit there by Power of Evil using the TP, and Trist gets herself a kill onto the strongest member of Flyquest. That is almost certainly a shutdown worth of gold. The Rampage obviously was, we said about it during the team fight. So a Rampage worth shutdown is picked up for Lost. Jose Diota, you're in the wrong jungle here, mate. He's going to be forced to run away in the bear stance. Not going to be able to pick up the walls, but PoE, he wants his blue buff, and he's going to secure it here, as Speaker is going to secure himself the Gromp. Looking at the items that just came in, Starrick's Gate was picked up for Huni. He's got 2 big items in comparison to Licorice's Bork. What's Licorice going to probably turn them 2 longswords into? He may look for a collector, though I don't think it's the best item right now in the meta. Ideally, you'd expect maybe some tank stats. You look at TSM squad, there's a high amount of AD, but TP is coming in from Palafox. He's going to drop the equalizer down onto Speaker's head, and Speaker's is going to possibly turn around. He is being dropped down by Living Artillery, but that's the Everfrost locking up Sword Art, and he's going to be almost killed, but TSM going to turn around as they're going to pick off Licorice there, and that's a double kill over to TSM as they're turning this game around. As Silas gets dropped, and with 2 solo units down for Flyquest, TSM can go straight to the purple worm, start this up for themselves. Flyquest though gonna contest. We have Johnson, who has got vision of the pit. He's gonna trap them in there. Cogmore is gonna be able to pop out low on damage, but he is low on mana, but he's gonna pick up a kill onto Nocturne. TSM forced back though as Speaker taken very low. But that's probably not the end of the fighting, as Ocean Drake has hit the map. 2 teams probably going to be running straight there. PoE especially stayed out on the map. He pushed out the mid lane. RTSM gonna go for the Drake. They're not looking like they're gonna. They possibly want to trade objective here with Flyquest. They want to trade Soul Point for the Baron. And TSM are walking over vision maybe here from Flyquest. Never mind, TSM aren't going anywhere near it. As we watch this play again, Speaker gets seen by Udyr and Lulu. They immediately turn onto him, and the equalizer's dropped onto them. But Palafox's equalizer only chunks down the rumble and zones him away. But obviously, the Solar Flare dropped here is just very good by Sword Art. He locks it up as TSM return to the Baron yet again. It's not dropping low, as Flyquests are here in time. The control ward over the ward's gonna make sure they know how quickly it's dropping. But there's the TP used by Licorice. Means that TSM back off as the equalizer stolen yet again gets dropped down onto TSM and chunking them out. And that's a great play by Flyquest. As Johnson picks up the mid lane tier 2, it does mean that he's secured push thanks to the positioning of Flyquest there. Great work out from Fly, and finally, Sword Art has his mythic. He went for the locket, which is very smart if you think about it, because Rumble ult being stolen, dropped on top of your head. Pop the locket, there's some armor and sustain through that ultimate. You also can survive a bit better against the Cogmore poke. And just look at the Cog. He does a lot of damage already. With his steel bow, he's got himself the Phantom Dancer. He's built himself a Warden's Mail, which obviously hints he's possibly gonna go for the tank Cog or tank Kia build that we see these ADCs going for right now, as yet again TSM on the Baron. Flyquest know it's happening because they didn't clear out the control wards. And will it drop? No, it's only half HP. Licorice is running out from bot lane. Will we see the engage? As Zeref Blade's going to land onto the as Equalizer gets dropped down, and that is knocked in diamond straight onto the Ogmore. But that's the wild growth power, baby, as TSM secured a Baron for themselves. But here comes Vigo, picked up one reset, and he's got the Nocturne body as he uses his Dustbringer to chase up forward, and there's the ultimate out from Vigo. Gonna get the second reset, and that's Solution, baby. You're gonna get chopped down as the triple kill comes over to Licorice, and the ace is there as Flyquest pick up every single TSM member and gonna secure themselves at least an inhibitor. And with TSM down and out, they're on to the Nexus turrets. They've taken down one, they've taken down two, and hello Nexus as you go night as Flyquest take down Team Solo Mid. Great plays coming down from Flyquest in this game, taking their record up to 9 wins, 17 losses I should say. Or is it 15? Who cares? It's a big win for the boys that support the world. This team honestly had a poor spring split, and somehow they're bouncing back. They're looking impressive in this game against TSM, and you kind of have to look at how TSM played that game. A lot of inting, let's be honest. Huni and Sword Art gave over so many kills to Flyquest because of their poor positioning. They got caught out so many times. Yes, you could say diving onto a Cog Lulu as a Nocturne solo is not the smartest when your team's pinned in the back of the Baron pit. You're not gonna kill him. Let's be honest. And that just technically means you're gonna give over more gold to a Cog. He hyper carries. He scales well into the late game. That's not the smartest. And I personally feel that TSM kind of threw that game. Yes, you could say they were never in the lead, but they threw it by how they positioned, how they moved around the map, and TSM's fighting in this game was all over the place. They weren't on the same page unless they were all grouped together, and when they weren't, they just inted. That's the best way to describe it. It wasn't the best play from them, and as such, I would honestly give the player of the game, to Dreams on his Lulu, using the ultimates correctly to keep his Cogmore alive to pump out constant damage, and Johnson does a lot of work when he gets that. And yes, you could say you look at a jungle, Jose Diodo, impacting the map by basically stopping Speaker from getting any objective. The only objective he got was that one Rift Herald, but realistically, that's it. You didn't get too much to affect the map, and as such, when we look at this game going forward, if this is a game we see in playoffs, yet alone we've got 2 more times this is played here in summer, you're going to have to think how TSM are going to play against how Palafox showcased his Silas, how Jose Diodo controlled the map, and obviously your map positions. Flyquest, you could see, had done a lot of research into TSM pathing. They were able to punish it very easily. And as such, TSM going to probably have to go back to the drawing board and rethink how they're going to play through the rest of this season. Because if your pathing's that obvious that Flyquest are able to catch it, maybe look at how you play, how you move around the map. But with that said, that's going to be the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like down below. Subscribe if you're new and if you want to. And I'll see you guys next time for our predictions for the LCS and LEC week 2 and 3.